Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome, dear learners. This is a video for the subject of education, intended for the course of Bachelor's in Education and for the paper of Child Development and Learning. This video is on models of teaching, and this particular lecture is going to cover Bruner's model of concept attainment and teaching. This video is recorded by Professor Jasim Ahmed. The course coordinator is Dr. Iram Khan from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. She is also the academic expert or reviewer for this video. The presenter or subject matter expert is Professor Jasim Ahmed from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. This video is produced under the project DTH Swayam Prabha channels of MHRD, New Delhi.
Hello dear learners, I am Professor Jasim Ahmed from IAC Faculty of Education, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Today I am going to deliver the lecture on the theme Models of Teaching, under which I will be focusing on Bruner's model of concept attainment and teaching. The objectives of today's lecture are to explain the meaning of models of teaching, to name different models of teaching. You will be also in a position to enumerate various elements of the models of teaching. You will also describe the concept attainment model given by Jerome S. Bruner, and finally we will be in a position to apply the concept attainment model in our class and teaching learning process. So friends, first of all, try to understand the meaning and definition of model. The term model is used in different connotation, like model of the building to be constructed, model of the machine or factory to be made, model that is replica of White House, the office of the American president. We also have some model in our mind according to our likes. For example, you may have an ideal teacher in your mind and you may be desirous to copy him or her in your teaching learning process. This way, that particular teacher is your ideal or model for you as far as teaching is concerned. We may have different people as our ideal or model from whom we want to learn something and behave accordingly. Similarly, we have some models of teaching which gives designs and directions to make our teaching more effective and impressive. Many scholars have defined models of teaching in different ways. Here, I am sharing some of the important definitions for your reference. According to Joyce and Bill, teaching models are just instructional designs. They describe the process of specifying and producing particular environmental situations which cause the students to interact in such a way that a specific change occurs in his behavior. At some other places, Joyce and Bill says that teaching model is a platform or plan which can be used to shape a curriculum or course, to select instructional materials, and to guide a teacher's act. According to Paul D. Again, models are prescriptive teaching strategies designed to accomplish particular instructional goals. All these and other definitions indicate that models of teaching is basically a blueprint or design for accomplishing the teaching learning objectives. These models help us in the following ways. Number one, they suggest the ways and techniques of creating favorable environmental conditions for carrying out the teaching learning process. Number two, these models help in achieving desirable teacher-pupil interaction during teaching learning process. Number three is that the ultimate goal of bringing desirable changes in the behavior of people may be achieved through applying these models or these designs of teaching learning. And number four is that these models help teacher in the proper selection of the instructional materials, teaching techniques, strategies, and methods for realizing the set goals. Now let us try to understand the difference between teaching models and techniques of teaching, because in these two terms generally we have been observing that the students get confused. So try to understand what are the basic difference between teaching models and the techniques of teaching. So first point is that teaching techniques are general, whereas models have been prepared to achieve certain specific goals by creating a specific teaching learning setup. Number two, techniques provide general guidelines, whereas models provide specific guidelines to achieve specific objectives of teaching. Number three, models help in creating proper teaching learning environment, but techniques do not. Number four, models are holistic in approach, whereas techniques are specific in nature. Now here you can see in the diagram that models of teaching serve three major functions in a given teaching learning situation. Here you can see in this diagram the three different uh, uh, important part of this model of teaching is. Number one is designing and specifying instructional objective. That is the one of the most important function of models of teaching is to design and specify what instructional objectives have to be achieved by these models. The second most important function is to specify teaching learning activities. That is, what sort of teaching learning activities, what sort of teaching learning process will be applied in the classroom. This model will be there to guide the teacher how to go about these particular functions of teaching learning process. And the third most important function of the model is to develop and select instructional material. That is, for achieving a particular objectives of a particular class, what sort of teaching learning equipment or teaching learning material the teacher requires. So those will be described by the model itself. Now try to understand what are the fundamental elements of teaching models. So each and every model of teaching has some core elements. So when you will study any model of teaching, you will find that these important elements will be present in all these models of teaching. What are these important elements, or you can say what are these core elements or common elements in the models? We are going to discuss about that. So the first important and the most important element of the models of teaching is the focus. That is, what is the focus of this particular model of teaching? So a focus is basically the central aspect of the model, constituting the objectives of teaching and aspects of classroom environment. So every teaching model is based on one or the other objectives as its focal point. Every teaching model differs from another in terms of its objectives. Some particular types of competencies are developed by each and every model of teaching. The second most important element of each and every model of teaching is syntax. It describes the model in action and includes the sequences of steps involved in the organization of the complete program of teaching. It is the systematic sequence of the activities in the model. It describes the teaching activities and interactions between a pupil and the teacher during each phase of teaching learning process. Third important element is the principle of reaction. It suggests teachers how to regard learners and how to respond to what the learners do and what the learners ask or put questions in the classroom. These responses should be appropriate and selective. Teachers are also required to see whether the learners have been actively involved in the process of learning. Fourth important element is social system. This element of the model is concerned with the activities of people and the teacher and their mutual relationship in the classroom. Every teaching model has different social system depending upon the set objectives of the classroom teaching learning process. Depending upon the need, the teacher may play dominant role or be democratic in style. In some models, the activity may be centered around the pupils, and in some other models, the activity is equally distributed in the entire classroom and may be distributed between different groups of students in the classroom. This element is based on the assumption that every class is a miniature society, and in society, as we know, that each and every individual has to play his or her role. So each and every learner in the classroom are required to play their roles so that their learning can be ensured. This social system, that is the fourth element of the model, also suggests motivating strategies and tactics for the students in the classroom. Fifth element is support system, that is additional requirement and resources for a particular classroom teaching learning process. So support system describes the supporting conditions required to implement the model. Support refers to additional requirements beyond the usual human skills, capacities, and general facilities. As we know that in each and every classroom, we have blackboard or whiteboard, we have chalk, we have duster. So these are the regular material which are used by the teacher in the classroom. So these are not basically additional support system. Here we are talking about those support system, those equipments or those materials which are specifically required for a particular classroom teaching learning process. It may include special skills, special knowledge of the teacher, and special audio visual material like film, self-instructional material, visit to special places, etc. It also includes nowadays ICT resources, self-improvised materials, and evaluation tools and techniques which may be used by the teacher in that particular classroom. Sixth and the last element of the models of teaching are application. It describes application aspect of the model, means how this model is going to be applied in the classroom setup, such as when to use the model, in which circumstances to use a specific model, and so on. This way, each model attempts to describe the feasibility of its use in varying contexts related with goal achievements in terms of cognitive, affective, and psychomotor objectives of teaching. Now try to understand what are the different family of teaching models. So there are four important families of teaching models. Number one is information processing family, which focuses on the processing of information, that is more cognitive functions. Second important family is social interaction family, which focuses on social system of the model. Third important family of teaching model is personal development family, which focuses on personal development of the learner. And the fourth important family is behavioral modification family, which focuses on modification of behavior of the learners. In all the above families, there are many models of teaching. Some of the important models of teaching are: number one, Brunner's concept attainment model, which is also the main focus of discussion in this particular presentation. So we will be talking in detail about this presentation and this particular model. The second important model is Ausubel's advanced organizer model. Third one is Bloom's mastery learning model. The fourth one is Schumann's inquiry training model. The fifth one is Placer's basic teaching model. Next is Jean Piaget's cognitive development model. Seventh important is social inquiry model of Benjamin Fox and Byron Maziels. All these models belong to one or the other family of teaching models and differ from one another in various elements of the model. Now, friends, we are going to discuss in detail about the Brunner's concept attainment model. Here we will be focusing on Brunner's concept attainment model. Before we discuss about the concept information model of Brunner, it is essential to first understand about concept. That is what we understand about the concept. What is the concept? It's the most important question. Unless we understand about the concept, what is the concept, what are the nature of concept, what are the attributes of concept, how we can understand the concept, how we can learn about the concept, and so only then we will be in a position to teach about the concepts. So try to first understand what is the concept. We all know about concept. We have been using the term in many ways, but we never thought about this. So concept is basically generalized idea about anything, be it a fact, a principle, a theory, or law. It is the perceived regularity in events or objects or records disseminated by a level. Let's try to understand types of concepts. So there are three different types of concepts. Number one is concrete concept. These are the concepts which have physical existence, which can be handheld and which can be demonstrated. This means any concept or anything which you can observe, which is available or which is present in your environment, which you can observe through your six senses, which can be handheld or which can be demonstrated. All these comes under the concrete concept. So understanding concrete concept and learning about concrete concepts are very easy because they are physically present in the environment, physically present in the society, in the community. We can observe all these concepts in a direct manner. So the second type of concept is semi-concrete concepts. These are the concepts which do not exist physically and which cannot be handheld. They can only be demonstrated. And because of this nature of this semi-concrete concept, it is a little bit difficult for a teacher to learn this concept to the classroom, to the students in the classroom. For example, we say jumping. Jumping is a concept. We all know what is jumping. But for a 3 or 4 year child may not understand what is jumping. So how will you teach about jumping? So you cannot show jumping as you show mobile or a cup of tea or a book or a table in this way. For jumping to be understood by the learner, you need to show them some other boy who is jumping. So when one child will jump from one place to another, one point to another, one position to another, and you will say to the child that this is jumping, how this child is, going from this point to this point. And through this demonstration, the child will understand what is jumping. So this is semi-concrete concept. The third type of concept is abstract concept. This is very difficult to understand and for a learner, for a child, and because all these three above the three nature is not there present in abstract concept. So abstract concepts neither exist physically, nor can be handheld, and nor can be demonstrated. So all these three are not possible for abstract concept. That is the reason that teaching of abstract concept is very difficult for for a teacher, and it's very difficult for a learner in the classroom. So teachers require to plan, brilliantly for teaching a particular such type of abstract concept. There are many examples of abstract concept. For example, life. Life is itself is abstract concept. It's very difficult to teach and develop about life. Then soul, the spirit. These are again abstract concept. So energy, again abstract concept. Weight, again abstract concept. You can show something which has some weight, but there is weight in that. You can't show that. Students can handheld that. So teaching of abstract concept requires much more energy, much more planning on the part of the teacher. Now try to understand what are the elements of a concept, whether it is a concrete concept or it is a semi-concrete concept or it is an abstract concept. All the three types of concept have some elements which are there in all the concepts. And with the help of these elements of a concept, we can teach that particular concept to our students in the classroom. So try to understand what are the elements of a concept. So there are four important elements in a concept. Number one is general attributes or common attributes of a concept. So all many concepts have common attributes. Like for example, water also has weight, and wood also has weight, iron also has weight. So weight is a common attribute for all these things. This is general attribute for all these things. Now the second category of attribute is principal attributes. Those attributes which are specific to that particular concept. In this case, you can say water, water flow, but solid do not flow. So for water, flowing is a specific attribute or principal attribute for water, but not for solid. Then there are third important is for each and every attribute there is some value attached to it, and that is called attribute value. For example, for pH value of any chemical substance maybe may have some values attached to it, and this value of pH describes the nature of that particular object. So if it is 7, it is neutral. If it is less than 7, it is acidic in nature, and if it is more than 7, it is basic in nature. And the fourth important element is that each and every concept has some examples. And examples may be of two types. You can say positive and negative examples. So these elements are helpful in the attainment of concept by the learners. So positive is, try to understand what is positive examples. For example, I am talking about solid. So for solid, brick is a positive example, chalk is a positive example, but air is a negative example. So those examples which qualify for a particular concept, those are positive example, and those examples which do not qualify, for a particular concept are basically negative example. By using the positive and negative example of concept, we can make the students learn about any concept in our classroom. Teachers use these elements of the concept to make the learners understand and grasp the concept being taught to them. Now we are going to discuss about concept teaching, that is concept attainment model. The concept attainment model is an instructional strategy founded on the work of Jerome Bruner and built on the principle of concept formation. That is, concept attainment model promotes students' learning through process of structured inquiry. The model helps students to understand and learn concepts by identifying attributes or key features through a process of analysis, comparison, and contrasting of examples. Two sets of examples are used in this strategy. Yes, examples that have attributes of the concepts, and no examples that do not have attributes of the concept. Concept attainment model given by J.S. Brunner, that is how to teach a concept using Brunner's model. Let us try to understand the entire model in a stepwise process. For this, we need to choose a concept with well-defined attributes so that we can teach the concept in a proper manner. So you as a teacher need to prepare yes and no examples. So you first of all you should try to decide what concept you are going to teach in the classroom, and for that particular concept you need to prepare a list of yes example, that is positive examples, and no examples, that is negative examples for that particular concept. Some of the yes examples should have a high attribute value, meaning it should be a clear representative of the concept. So now you can follow these steps which we are going to discuss. So the first step is prepare the class and clarify objectives and a strategy of the lesson. That is, you as a teacher need to make the entire class ready for teaching learning process. You make them ready mentally, physically, emotionally, and in all the ways which you have already planned to do in the classroom. And you should also describe the strategy you are going to apply for that particular class to all the students, so that they can follow in the entire process of teaching and learning. For example, take the concept of matter and explain the classroom transaction strategy you are going to follow. So for this particular example in this lecture, I am taking the example of teaching of the concept, and the concept is matter. And how we will be proceeding stepwise, you will see in the following slides. So first of all, you will have to create two columns on the board. One yes for positive examples and another no for negative examples, and present a few positive as well as negative examples of the concept. Here you can see in step 2, this is basically a blackboard you can see in the classroom or whiteboard. So here for the concept matter, which we have decided to teach using this model. For matter, we have developed two columns here. One is left column is yes in a positive example, and no, that is negative example, that is at the right side. So for matter, the concept of matter, these brick, water, pencil, blackboard, glass, pillow, all these are positive examples, which mean that brick is a matter, water is matter, pencil is matter, blackboard is also matter, glass also comes into the matter category, pillow is also matter. But on the right hand side, that is no examples. A smile is not a matter, emotion is not a matter, life is not a matter, soul is not a matter, sound is not a matter, rest, taking rest is not a matter. So on the basis of these positive and negative examples, students can compare why all these objects are matter, that is positive examples, and why these are not matter. So we through this process we will reach up to step 3. And so at step 3, let the students analyze the characteristics of the positive and negative examples. So whatever examples have been given or written on the blackboard, students will be given ample opportunity, ample chance, and ample time to compare the attributes, compare the qualities that they have already experienced in their daily life, and try to compare the attributes among the positive examples attributes among the negative examples, and also compare the attributes of positive as well as negative examples. And teachers should also guide or facilitate them, instruct students to analyze the examples, similarities among yes, similarities among no, and compare the attributes of the two groups. At step 4, add some more examples by yourself and some by students, and tell students to refine their thoughts. So at this stage and at this step of concept attainment model, try to integrate step 3 and step 4. So what students have already understood at 3, you can also evaluate at this stage, at stage 4. So if students are able to give some example on their own, you will try to understand, and you will come to know that yes, students are understanding who are those uh, who are able to understand, and who are those students who are not able to understand till date, till that particular time. And in that process, after knowing the status of the class, you can add some more examples, and you can motivate the learners to give their examples. And in this process, you will try to strengthen their understanding and try to make them learn in a better way about the concept matter. At step 5, you have to elicit positive and negative example from the class only, not from your side. So whatever teachers have already given examples at step 2, at step 3, at step 4, and already teacher has already grasped the understanding of the class, and at step 5, now a teacher will engage the students in eliciting examples from that class only. So now students will give their examples from their own side, and ask students if they are able to understand the concept. Students who have understood the concept can be encouraged to add more just examples to the column. Encourage other students to examine the student generated examples to identify the concept in a better way. So after stage 5, you will reach to a step 6, where you will try to test the understanding of the students by asking more examples from both the groups. That is, yes example as well as no example. So in the process, basically, we are trying to teach learners about the concept of matter with the help of ample examples, example from teacher side as well as examples from student side, positive examples as well as negative examples. And in the process, students will try to grasp the understanding of the concept of matter. If teacher think that the class has reached the conceptual understanding, then go to the next step, and the next step is step 7, where you will try to draw definition of the concept, that is matter, from the class. So teacher will not require, and teacher should not give the definition of matter. Try to draw the definition of matter from the class itself. So give each and every student of the class to define matter, that is the concept which were being taught, on their own. So each and every one of these students will define matter in their own way, in their own words. Give them the free space to generate and create their own definition. And when students have already given their definition, they have discussed their definition, and if you find that some sort of refinement is required, then the teacher must refine the definition of and conclude the entire class. So, friends, we have discussed in the entire lecture about the models of teaching. What are the different important models of teaching? What are the different families of the models of teaching? We have also discussed about the various elements of the model of teaching, and in detail we have discussed about the concept attainment model of Jerome Brunner. So, dear friends, we discussed today about the models of teaching and came to know that teaching models are basically the instructional designs developed and used to make our teaching learning most effectively. There are 4 major families of teaching models, having many teaching models in each of them. We have also discussed the Brunner's model of concept attainment in detail, with the example of how to teach the concept of matter. If we use these models in our teaching, we can achieve our set objectives in a better way, and students may enjoy their learning and learn to their fullest capacity. With this, I thank you all for listening to the lecture, and hope to see you in the next presentation. Thank you. These are some of the references which have been consulted during the preparation of this presentation. Thank you so much.
I would like to extend my thanks to Professor Jasim Ahmed for this wonderful lecture. I hope that all of you have enjoyed this particular discussion. You were watching the video on models of teaching, and this particular video was based on Bruner's model of concept attainment and teaching. This video lecture was recorded by faculty at home during the national lockdown period for COVID-19 pandemic using minimal technical resources. Technical errors, if any, are unintentional and may please be ignored. For any queries with regard to this lecture or broadcast, kindly send your email to techsupport@dth.ac.in. Thank you so much.